Again, blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. The drama over the Second Amendment continues. Blessed to be with you. Now, many of you that follow us on social media, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram, or you go to our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com, you know that we do have a big prize to give away today. And if you don't, if you're just tuning in, we have tickets to Metallica. That's right, Metallica. Now, it's so funny. We'll have some people that will say, hey, this is great. Our friend Rome, he's all excited. He thinks he's going to win. I hope he does. So how this is going to work is we're going to give away tickets this half hour, next half hour, and then in the 8 o'clock hour here at KIDO Talk Radio. And this will be, I don't know, the last time that Metallica has been there. So you're saying, well, Kevin Miller, enough of this. What do I have to do to win? Very easy. When you hear the big Metallica song, I guess we'll give you the song's name. I think it's a hit that was pretty popular back in the day. Enter Sandman. And I can recall, what was it, the early 90s when this was a big hit. Well, anyway, when you hear Enter Sandman, caller 20 at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, and that'll be between now and 6:30. Do want to thank Ray Amaya for helping us with this. It's tough when you have people calling in all the time. And, again, the show does not run itself. It may seem that way, but it doesn't. And, you know, again, we've got to make sure the Millennium Falcon continues to run. So thank you, Ray, for that. Again, caller 20 when you hear Enter the Sandman. So there we have that issue. We also have this issue now, as predicted yesterday, that the White House would be walking back Donald Trump's comments concerning firearms. And we had some people, whether it was our friend Dwight or the great champion of liberty, Tea Party Bob, who said, look, if the president says these things all the time, it's nothing. It's a negotiating ploy. There's nothing to worry about. By the way, this is what the president said, and we talked about all day yesterday.
The firearms first and then go to court.
Right. He's talking about eliminating due process. Now, look, we are faithful, conservative, patriotic Americans. We love our country. We love Idaho. We love the United States of America. But imagine if Barack Obama had said this. Imagine if Hillary Clinton had said this. It would be time to go to Independence Indoor Shooting and go on a shopping spree to get ready for the coming takeover. You can have zero tolerance for any elected official saying getting rid of due process. Our due process is already gone. I know what you're saying, Kevin. I just want to win Metallica tickets. I don't want the truth. Well, the truth is you take a look at the surveillance state that we live in today, that Edward Snowden exposed. And it's amazing to me that we have any criminal or terrorist activity in the country today because simply the government can go look at my file. It's very compelling. Well, what does this guy do? Well, yesterday he went to Barnes & Noble and ran into Liberty Linda, okay? And then he was at Fred Meyer talking to a young man from, we won't mention his name because he's from California, but he's a nice young man. He loves Idaho. And he was talking to Kevin Miller about the illegals and how the illegals have taken over the state of California and what are we going to do about it. And, you know, it's very straightforward. They can also say that I bought some grapes. Very exciting stuff. Yet, when the FBI, when the local Broward County sheriff is tipped off to things, they don't do anything about it. But we're supposed to get rid of our due process. It makes no sense. So the president apparently is walking that statement back, the idea of getting rid of due process. Look, there's no failure in the process. The failure was in the criminal justice system, was in the school system, was in any system. And, you know, as we've said, see something, say something. Well, I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be vilified. Okay? Would you rather ignore a problem and let it go on and then be responsible? Like the woman in California. She saw the radicals. She saw the radical Islamic folks, the radical Muslims that were in that house. Something suspicious was going on. She didn't call the police or the FBI because she didn't want to be labeled an Islamophobe, right? So we had people slaughtered in the workplace in San Bernardino. So it goes back to what a gentleman asked me, what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to maintain our vigilance, and continue to build this community. I urge you to tell folks, our friend Liberty Linda, she said, hey, I found your show because Tom Munns told me about it. It's not like we're McDonald's and we can advertise the Big Mac. We've got the Big Millie. That's what we have here. So we urge you in our own way to spread the word about this program. And that's why we're on 107.5 FM. That's why we have our app. That's why we have these things. But anyway, at 580-5436, the president should walk back his controversial statements. Shame on him for saying getting rid of due process, right? That's number one. Number two, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in California and sanctuary cities and what's going on in Illinois, giving the illegals library cards and telling them that's IDs. It doesn't make any sense. Gary in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Kevin. Kevin, to bring this up to date, apparently you haven't had the benefit of hearing of what the situation actually was in there in Parkland. Rather than saying that President Trump was eliminating due process, in reality, he was returning due process to that area. As reported by Ann Coulter, is that there were 3 different instances of which written complaints had been put in to the police department within regards of the 19-year-old committing the felony of assault. They actually had the emails with the pictures of his rifles of how he was going to shoot him and kill him. These are all felonies. What the police department should have done at that time was to get an arrest warrant and serve it on the individual. And at that time, upon serving the warrant, is that they would have confiscated the guns. The parallel to that, of course, is that if an individual has a weapon and is out on the street threatening to kill somebody and the police say drop it, I don't care if it's a knife, gun, or otherwise, if he doesn't drop it, they'll take care of it, neutralize him right then and there. But nevertheless, this has come about due to the fact of a program instigated by Obama, and that is what's referred to as the Promise Program or the Restoration Program, to whereas that school district had the highest rate of arrest and incarcerations that was in the state of Florida until they instituted this program, whereas you don't report anything. And that is why the situation got to where it was. And whenever you do not report and the police do not do their own job, which they're hired to do, of course, the 2 weeks, I think it was, before the shooting, is that superintendent of the school district bragged about, well, where they did have the worst school district, is that under his brilliant administration, they now had the lowest. Well, it doesn't take a mental giant to figure out if you do not arrest somebody for committing felonies, you'll have the lowest. But I thought you might be interested in having that information at your fingertips.
Well, Gary, we appreciate you bringing some more reporting to the program.
But, of course.
Thank you, brother.
You bet.
And, let's go to Gary's point for a moment. And I believe Tea Party Bob alluded to this as well, and we urge people to follow Gary's advice and go get that Ann Coulter column. In fact, I'll put it up on the Kevin Miller Show Facebook, but on the Kevin Miller Show Facebook, like that's official. Anyway, let's take a look at this. This is a superintendent that's on, publicly funded radio, talking about kids and mobilizing kids to vote. Well, if you're ignoring crime and you're not letting the police do their job, well, then don't you bear some responsibility? We go to Liberty Linda, fresh off her appearance at Barnes & Noble yesterday. Good morning.
Yes, that was fun. Kevin, my very good friend Tom Munns and I were talking the other day, and we just decided it was too hard to be a conservative. So we decided we're going to become liberals.
You're going to be a lib.
Yeah, both of us. You know, it's just too hard to be a conservative. And so we started, we're going to start reading the New York Times every morning, and we're going to stand on the corner and hand out flyers to have our guns taken away. So what do you think? Do you think we should continue to fight the good fight and be a conservative, or that we should just give in?
Well, I think you get a lot of attention, and you could, actually give your guns away, and I'm sure the media would come by and cover it, because that's big news. Hey, these conservatives, these radical right-wing folks are giving away their guns to keep us safe.
Absolutely. Well, we'd have a lot of people supporting us if we became liberals. We thought it was a good idea. Of course, we're just kidding.
Well, again, that's what we take a look at this and we think to ourselves, what's it going to take? To keep everybody safe. But if you have these kids, and look, I many years ago, I got a superintendent fired in Pennsylvania. And basically what was happening is there were kids that were busted for drugs and such. They weren't reported to the police. She declared war on me and the radio station, threatened to sue me. But in the end, she lost her job because we were right. The truth was right. And it was an amazing thing. And look, this is a small percentage of the population where we're just going to get along to go along and push the problem down the road. And when you ignore these things, as you've brought up, Liberty Linda, well, then we've got this situation with Mr. Cruz.
Yeah. And, these kids in the school in Florida, in a way we can understand how they feel, because of the horrible thing that they went through. I mean, I am still in mourning for them. And so we can kind of understand what they have gone through. However, it's the opposite of what we should do. There should have been people there to defend them, which you and I and most of your listeners want to have that done in the schools. But, yeah, sometimes it is very hard to continue being a conservative because it seems like everybody's against us. And so anyway, we were just talking about that the other day, Tom Muns and I, and say, well, let's just forget it. Let's become a liberal.
Well, indeed, it was great seeing you yesterday.
Oh, I loved it. It was wonderful. We had a nice chat. And so, this second time we ran into each other just exactly the same way. Exactly.
A lot of people, that's one of my 3 hangouts: work, church, and Barnes & Noble.
Oh, well, I didn't know that because that's my hangout too. But anyway, I think it was meant to be. I mean, the gods were watching over us yesterday.
Well, God bless you, Liberty Linda. You take care of yourself.
Well, and may the Lord bless you as well, Kevin. You're great. Love your show. Keep up the good work.
I'll drink to that out of my paper cup.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And remember, coming up, your chance to win tickets to see Metallica. Caller 20 at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. When you hear the big Metallica hit coming up very soon. Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin. I thought about this all day yesterday. As you know, I'm kind of disabled right now, so I have lots of time to listen to clinical psychologists and all these different experts. And I thought this up. You remember Trump used to have a TV show, and he was known for doing something on that TV show. You remember what that was?
No, what was it?
You're fired.
Remember? The Apprentice, yes.
Yeah. So I'm like going, okay, why can't this president go have the Department of Justice investigate this plan that the school and the sheriff brought together that a lot of your callers have called in and said was supported by George Soros, and start firing some people? We all know that there was tons of things that were dropped by law enforcement, that the school was actually given the power to turn aside misdemeanor offenses. Wow, what a concept. Isn't that something that somebody should go back to the school officials and say you're fired for? And we know that I looked up the policy for that sheriff's what is it called? Their policy for entry, and it says basically if there's an active shooter, they may enter, not that they have to or can. It says may, so it leaves the door wide open for those guys not to do anything. And I think that's the bigger issue here is there are people in that county, in the sheriff's department and in the school and the FBI that need to be fired. They need to be investigated, prosecuted, and fired. You work in a radio station. I worked in IT. I worked in a prison. And if I would have done anything like the things that have gone on in government, I would have gotten fired. It's that simple.
I totally agree with you. Brian. Thank you for the call.
You bet.
All right. Quickly to Jim in Middleton, and we'll clear the lines here as we get ready for our big soiree into Metallica. Jim, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. I've been bringing up points all week. We're still on this subject. And another strong point, we spend a lot of tax dollars on law enforcement, judicial system, our prison system, and so forth. And the reason that we citizens do that is if someone gets out of line, commits a crime, then those people are taken out of society. Okay? Responsible people that work and pay that bill do that for our freedom. But again, the people that we hire, that we put in office, law enforcement, not all, but when they fail, they come back at us. They want us to pay the bill, put the bill for their mistake, or they want to take a right away from us. And I'm very upset with a lot of the politicians. None of them are standing up for our rights in our Constitution and explaining the importance of those constitutional rights and why they're not putting it back on the other side with all the failures that's going on rather than always trying to demonize us.
Well, they want to demonize us to get their own agenda across.
Well, I understand. But, Kevin, someone needs to bring this out, be it us. I mean, I have no problem voicing myself. Sometimes I can articulate myself a little better, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. And to switch half gears here for just a moment, is Greg Pruitt or anyone talking about doing a march, rally, and what have you, and get out on the street? My legs work well.
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do something.
Well, Kevin, I am going to stay involved here. I'm not going to roll over, and I'm not going to give up here. And like you said, I'm going to stand up for truth. I'm not going to stand up. I don't have a personal dog in this fight. Those bump stocks, Kevin, I can give a rat's rear end about those things one way or the other. Okay? But we have to stop picking little things for the failures that humankind does. People can abuse anything on this planet, and they do, but they never want to take responsibility. And that's the only thing I'm advocating. It's not the fact that, yes, I own a few firearms, Kevin. It's not because, I love guns and this and that. It's the being responsible. And I'm just sick and tired of these people going after intrinsic things, material things for failure, okay? And you know where that's ultimately going to lead. I don't have to tell you that or those in your audience. But if there's a rally coming up or if there's anything I can do, Kevin, announce it on the radio.
Yes, sir, Jim.
Okay, thanks. Have a great day.
You too, our great friend Jim in Middleton. Coming up next, are you ready, Metallica fans? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And all of a sudden I can feel my testosterone rolling, elevating. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll see who wins the pair of tickets to see Metallica. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. if we could remember also that Boise is America's fastest growing city. That's right, Boise's America's fastest growing city. That story at KIDO Talk Radio. So again, we wish you luck in winning those tickets to see Metallica. Kevin Miller with you here as we continue on. Coming up, one senator has said that he will not approve a Trump judicial nominee because of the guy's race. We'll tell you about that coming up. Also, KIDO Talk Radio, we want to get you to work safely and on time. That means depend. And our time is 6:32 at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Maggie. Well, if life could only be so simple where we would just sit back and chill out and, just run wild and free and give away Metallica tickets all hours long. Of course, we'll be giving away another pair coming up between now and 7 o'clock. Now in the Idaho legislature, proposed bill on guns and domestic violence to follow the Oregon law that just went into effect. We'll talk a little bit about that, and people will say, well, Kevin, you're hitting the gun thing very, very tough. Well, yes, we must be vigilant because we haven't hit a lot of things tough. And, the idea that, we've got the illegals voting, we've got the country being taken away from us. If you got kids and grandkids, it's alarming. Even if you don't, it should be alarming. What type of America, what type of Americans will they, in fact, grow up to be? So now you're going to love this. This is from our friends at Fox and Friends, and we're very proud of our affiliation with Fox News, being the Fox News station here in the Treasure Valley. That means we get the Fox people on, and we get to play the Fox audio. So Chuck Schumer decides that he's not going to vote. He's going to vote against a judicial nominee because the guy's, well, let's hear it from our friends at Fox and Friends on KIDO Talk Radio.
Will vote against this judicial nominee just because he's white. Another one, Chuck Schumer votes against Trump judicial nominee because he's white. Chuck Schumer votes against South Carolina federal judge nominee because he's white.
Marvin Qualterbaum is the guy. He's replacing a black judge in South Carolina, and not many people are surprised. Chuck Schumer says we need a diversity of a diversity of views and different experiences on the bench. Here's what he said.
It's long past time that the judiciary starts looking a lot more like the America it represents. Having a diversity of views and experience on the federal bench is necessary for the equal administration of justice.
Okay, so Mr. Quattlebaum would replace the seat has been long vacant, but it was replaces two black judges in South Carolina.
That President Obama appointed?
Exactly. Here's the thing. This nominee, highly qualified. So why would Chuck Schumer stand in the way of it? Lindsey Graham tweeted this: I judge nominees on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Chuck Schumer should do the same.
Yeah, wrong to deny someone because of their skin color.
And Trey Gowdy, who defines the word justice, says, I hate to interrupt Senator Schumer with facts, but one nominee was withdrawn because of a significant bond issue, while the other became the Chief Justice of the South Carolina Supreme Court. And I'm going to add to this. Is there a difference in the condemnation that came at President Trump when he looked at a judge and says, well, he's got a Mexican background, I've been sparring with Mexico, I'm worried about his judgment being colored by his heritage. And everyone said, you got to be kidding me. You can't question the integrity of a judge by their heritage.
There we have it. Chuck Schumer saying diversity is much more important than someone's judicial qualifications. Hopefully Chuck won't be judging us. My name's Kevin Miller. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number's 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We've got a little disruption today because we're giving away tickets to see Metallica at Taco Bell Arena November 28th. So if you'd like to win a pair of tickets this hour, basically what you have to do is keep listening. And when you hear Enter the Sandman, why? Because it's about the only Metallica song I know. Caller 20 at 580-5436, and you can join Brian in New Plymouth. Big ups to Brian for winning that. Let's go to Max in Garden City with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, Kevin. Great show. KIDO Radio, AM and FM. Where I live, your FM signal is so weak I have to go to AM.
Well,
but that's another matter.
I'll pass that on to the powers that be. Maybe they could up the wattage a little.
There you go. Meanwhile, pardon me, you had briefly mentioned about illegal aliens voting in our elections. And there is such a simple way to prevent that. Every state issues driver licenses and or state ID cards, right?
Right.
Why don't we just change the background color on the subject? Just an example, yellow means you're a minor. Blue means you're an adult. Red means you're carrying a green card. And if you have none of the above, we just don't issue you a driver license. And then we require state-recognized ID for you to vote. Now, how hard is that?
Well, all I know is, and I, when I go into Star, they ask me my license or my, they ask for my driver's license.
Well, yeah, and they should. I mean,
but I mean, how can we say, no voter ID when I lived in Meridian, they asked me for my ID as well. So I don't understand what the big brouhaha is. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a friend who lives in Florida. He's a sheriff's deputy down there, and he was specifically running security on the polls during the last election, basically to keep people from fighting or intimidating each other, that sort of thing. And he said he witnessed again and again as illegals went in, hit the levers, punched the buttons, walked out.
Right.
And he was told, don't you say anything about it. Don't you approach them. You will lose your job. You just stop acts of violence. I mean, good grief. This is still the United States of America. If we want to keep our country, we need to follow the rules.
Right. And otherwise, we're going to end up like California. Max, thank you for the call.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Here's something else that I want to share with you, and I've been saving this for quite some time. And this is out of Oakland, California, or as Hammer used to say, Oaktown. Remember that? Oaktown, California, where he would describe Oakland. This is the mayor of Oakland bragging that she tipped off the illegals, the people here illegally, because they're a sanctuary city. Why isn't this woman arrested? Oh, well, we can't arrest her, but we're going to get rid of due process for everyone else.
Hope we take this moment to recognize that we have to fight against the racist myth that the Trump administration is trying to perpetuate, that immigrants are dangerous criminals. There is nothing farther than the truth. This is racist and it is false. Ample evidence shows that American-born citizens are actually more likely to commit crimes than immigrants.
Right. Tell that to the people that have been killed by the illegals that should have been deported. And you notice how she says that where it's immigrants. No, we're talking about people that are here illegally. I don't know if this is true for your church, but in the church that I attend as a cradle Roman Catholic, as a Christian, there is an old saying in our church, and I believe my wife is living proof of this, that the converts are the truest Catholics that you have. And maybe that's true and we see that with born-again Christians, because they came to the faith by choice. Maybe they were downtrodden or committed sins and gave testimony to God and found Jesus. And those are the ones that, truly appreciate what they have because they had to work for it. Like Saul to Paul. And then you have the people that come to America, that come here legally, that love America, that had to go through the insane Byzantine legal process. And you know what I'm talking about, dealing with immigration, dealing with being treated like a second-class person, not entitled to anything. Maybe you married somebody who's in this country, you married an American, questioning your commitment, and you did it the right way. You talk to those folks, the naturalized citizens, and what they think about legalizing the illegals.
I hope we take this moment to recognize that we have to fight against the racist myth that the Trump administration is trying to perpetuate, that immigrants are dangerous criminals. There is nothing farther than the truth. This is racist and it is false. Ample evidence shows that American-born citizens are actually more likely to commit crimes than immigrants.
Right. Let's condemn the people that pay your bills, madam. Let's condemn the people that actually are here legally. It's just crazy when you think about this, right? And this whole debate involving guns as well, and the president with due process and everything else. It is just, but you have a mayor of a city condemning American citizens at the expense of people being here illegally. Go back to that poor NFL player and the Good Samaritan that tried to help him on the road. And what happened? They were killed by someone who had been deported how many times? Now, you go to Australia, you go to Mexico, you go to Canada and try and become a citizen there. You got to jump through the hoops. You know, the Mexican immigration policy is much more challenging than the American policy, right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Keep it here. Your chance to win Metallica tickets is next with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And good morning once again. More tickets to give away. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Taking your phone calls about the issues that matter to you. And here we have more talk of gun control, more talk of everything else. But back to this, what's going on in California. And really, when we take a look at the state of California, I was talking to a young man yesterday saying, Kevin, I get tired of, saying I'm from California because people are ripping me and vilifying me. And that might be you, Kevin Miller. Well, no, the good people are certainly welcome here. And, just listening to people. And if you ever get a chance, if you see me at some of my, big paid appearances, the Fred Meyer, the Barnes & Noble, or one of these other, wonderful places I go to, or church, you'll notice I just listen. So I was listening to this young man yesterday, and he was saying, Kevin, what about, what's going on in Illinois with the ID cards? What's going on with the governor's race? And there are a lot of people that are new to the area and really don't know a Tommy Ahlquist from a Rowell Labrador or Brad Little. So this week on Idaho Insights, and we'll share that with you next week as well, is an interview we did with Dr. Tommy Ahlquist. And we'll be having the candidates on like everybody else and getting his thoughts about some of the big issues, education, ethics, and what is the role of the state of Idaho. Think about this. I mean, Forbes just said that Boise, and really it's the Treasure Valley. I know a lot of folks are Boise-centric, but the Treasure Valley is America's fastest-growing city. And with that comes responsibility. And with that comes infrastructure, and we see it again and again and again. The traffic, the frustration. What's the smart plan for growth? Right? We can pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, we're number one, but what is our plan to handle it? Something to think about at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, when we're taking a look at growth and how to deal with it. And there are a lot of people new to the area, right? Exactly. So that is just one of the many thoughts, but how to deal with these issues and who will stand up and maybe be unpopular. One thing that you have to say about the President of the United States is that he doesn't have a problem being unpopular. And we talked a lot about that yesterday, and we'll continue on today. By the way, Terry in Nampa has won our Metallica tickets. Congratulations, Terry in Nampa. Hello, Terry. We appreciate you. Congratulations on winning the Metallica tickets. Your next chance to win is during the 8 o'clock hour of Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work. And there we have it. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Remember, Terry in Nampa won our tickets. So let's get back to the situation in the city of Oakland, where you have the mayor tipping off the illegals. Now, will the president, will the attorney general, will anyone have the guts to hold her accountable? Will anybody have the guts to say, this is not how things go? And I can understand the feeling in California. Let's hope that that doesn't happen here. Let's hope that we continue to enforce the law. Of course, people at one time, California was the best place ever to live. Now, not so much. Now, one of the reasons why the Treasure Valley is one of the big winners, America's fastest growing city is Boise, but the Boise area is because you have the huge tech displacement. By the way, there's an article that I wrote at KIDOTalkRadio.com. It's like 200 words, if that, from the Forbes piece. And basically it says you have a huge tech displacement of people that in the tech industry are tired of the high cost of homes in California, and they're moving either to Boise, Idaho, or Austin, Texas. Now, again, that's kind of strange when you think about it. Boise, Idaho, or Austin, Texas. And maybe a little to Denver, Colorado as well. And they're doing so because of quality of life, right? So, again, when you have the mayor of a city, a sanctuary city, which, again, under President Obama, you had states ignoring federal law. We've seen this with the dope smoking and marijuana. We've seen this with the marriage proposal. Now, apparently, ingesting illegal drugs into your system is okay to be a states' rights issue, as opposed to whom or who you can marry. Now, if you define marriage as that between a man and a woman, well, then the federal government is going to take you to court because they couldn't win on the ballots, just like they can't win with gun control when it comes to voting. So they're going to go to the bench, right? And seek to legislate from the bench. But it amazes me that the federal government would turn a blind eye to people smoking marijuana, even though there are federal guidelines against it, right? And yet other people do this. So we see that with sanctuary cities when we have a mayor openly touting the law and tipping off people as if this is the civil rights movement, which it isn't. I believe civil rights, and this is my own personal opinion, civil rights are when you're an American citizen. Human rights, of course, should be universal, but access to court, access to lawyers, access to everything else, that's for American citizens. So will the president, and I believe that he should, have enough guts to hold these cities accountable, to defund them? We're going to talk about that with our friend Brian Fisher. It's been a while. We will speak with him, and we'll get back to your calls. We had a welcomed disruption this morning, and we'll continue disrupting the elite and the libs. What a way to wake up. Good morning, Kevin Miller.